Hi again, this is Annalisa. I'm here now today to talk to you about the pendulum and the Ouija board. We start with the pendulum. I brought today my pendulum. I will show it to you in a second. Pendulums are great tools for you to develop in your intuition and to get in touch with your higher self. And if you would like to start practicing with your pendulum, the first thing that you would have to do is to get pendulum. There are many on sales online or your local metaphysical store, and the ones that are on sale are normally made of crystals or other materials or metal. The one I've got with me today is made of amethyst. The first thing that you would do before starting to use a pendulum would be to cleanse it. You can do this if you are buying a pendulum for the first time and you never used it, or you have already a pendulum and you haven't used it for quite a while and you want to remove any unwanted negative energy or any residual energy from previous questions that you have asked. There are many ways that you can cleanse your pendulum, and the most commonly used would be water. You can run your pendulum under running water, and or you can put it in a glass with water. Some people like to add salt in the water and put your pendulum in the glass and leave it for a few hours or overnight in your glass of water. If you live by the sea or the ocean, you can also run it in the water of the sea or of the ocean. There is a warning that comes with cleansing your pendulum with water, as some crystals are weak with the water and they would either damage or dissolve. So it would be up to you to check the material of your pendulum and what type of cleansing is best to do. Also, there is not a best way or a worst way to cleanse your pendulum. I suggest that you try them all and see what works best for you. The other ways that you can clean your pendulum are by smudging it with sage. So you would hold your pendulum and use sage stick, smudge stick, and you would move the smudge stick up and down over the pendulum and let the smoke cleanse your pendulum. Also, you can bury it in the ground, as the earth has got very nice and great powers of cleansing from negative energies. So you can bury it in a pot or in the garden in your home and let it stay there for a few hours or overnight again. After you have cleansed it, you have to charge it. And again, there are many ways that you can do this, and the choice is up to you, what works best for you. And if you don't know what works best for you, just try them all and you will find out. You can bury the pendulum again and let the earth not only cleanse it but charge it. A very popular way of charging your pendulum is with the moonlight. So on a night with full moon, you can leave it by your window and let it charge by the rays of the full moon. Also, by the sun, you can use the sun to charge it. And another very cool way that I think not many people know about, but I really like this, and so this is a personal tip of mine. I charge it with water and intention, but it's a slightly different way. So if the pendulum is suitable, you can put it in a glass of water. You don't need the salt, you just need spring water. And as water is a great conductor for emotion, energy, and intention, what I would do is to take a piece of paper and I write on the piece of paper my intention with which I want to charge my pendulum, and I would put the piece of paper under the glass and my pendulum in the glass and leave that for a few hours, so that the water would absorb the vibration that are coming from the piece of paper where my intentions are, and those will be infused in your pendulum. After you've done that, it's time to use it. So the first thing that you would do when you get a new pendulum, some people like to do this every time before they use their pendulum. I don't, because I know my pendulum and I know how it works. So it would be to some people call it program, or some people just say figure out the way that your pendulum moves, responding to questions. The questions that we are asking to check the validity of the movements of the pendulums are yes, no, or no answer. Some people say I don't know. So what you would do, you would relax yourself, maybe take a moment and do a little meditation, and then you sit comfortably. I would suggest that you rest your arm on a surface or on a table, and you hold your pendulum in front of you. Now my arm is not resting on anything, just to show you. And what you would do is to relax, take a few breaths, and you would ask to your pendulum, please show me a yes answer. Taking a moment. Okay, as you can see, my pendulum is starting to swing. And in this case, for this pendulum, the yes answer would be moving clockwise. What I like to do, I like to stop or say thank you every time I finish asking a question to the pendulum. We do the same thing for the no question. So I would ask my pendulum, show me a no answer. And even if it's moving just a little, you can see that for my pendulum, the answer no is moving anti-clockwise. I'll stop it again. Please show me no answer. And as you can see, the answer for this pendulum, for a no answer, is moving back and forth. Now, the pendulums can move in different ways, so clockwise, anti-clockwise, back and forth, or left or right, or sometimes they do a mix of all these movements, depending on the material. Something I forgot to say about the cleansing. There are many materials for the pendulums. The crystal is most commonly used, but there's also metal pendulums. And a very cool thing about the metal, you don't have any electrical energy charge, so you don't need to cleanse those. So once you have programmed the answers for your pendulum, you have to verify that the movements are correct. So what you would do, you would ask some questions to the pendulum that the pendulum could answer with a yes or no, or a no answer. And these are questions that you will know already the answers to. So in this case, you can ask, is my name so-and-so? Or is it raining today? Or is it sunny today? So questions that you would already know the answers to. Once another very cool thing that I suggest to do is to program your pendulum source of information. This is something else that not a lot of people do, but it's a good thing to ask your pendulum where it's going to get your answers, because you may ask answer and get questions and get answers from your subconscious, also from your higher self, and also from spirits. I use pendulum to communicate with spirits as well. And for doing this, you would ask with a statement of intent. You prepare a brief sentence that would explain that you want to know where the pendulum is getting its answers. And then you are ready to go and play with your pendulum. And now I would like to talk to you about many ways that you can use your pendulums, and some ways are common and known, but other ways I never hear people talking about it. So I would like to share my own experience with you. So the most commonly used ways for asking questions to the pendulum, but I think is very limiting, is the yes or no questions. But you can use your pendulum also to check your chakras, yours or someone else's chakras. So you can do that prior to energy healing sessions, or simply to check if your chakras are balanced or out of balance. So what you would do is you would lay down, you or the other person, and one by one you would hold the pendulum above each chakra, starting from the root chakra, and you would ask your pendulum to tell you if each chakra is in balance or out of balance. Once you've done that, and most likely you would get a no answer, because our chakras get out of balance very often and all the time, and you would do a meditation session to balance your chakra, and then you could repeat the holding the pendulum above each chakra until you get a yes answer. And you can do this on yourself and on other people. Another very, very cool way that you can use the pendulum is to actually ask for directions. And I've used this many times. So I can bring you an example that maybe is a bit silly, but it's just to make you understand what I mean. So let's say that you have the pendulum with you, like I do. I always keep it in my handbag, and you are in a big car park, or you are in a city that you don't know very well, and you park your car, you are on a rush, and you don't remember where you have parked your car when you have finished doing your things. So you are in this big car park, and you want to know in which direction your car is. So you will take your pendulum and you would ask to show you in which direction your car is parked. And I can assure you that the pendulum will start swinging, pointing to the direction or where you would have to walk to retrieve your car. And you can do this towards the direction of shops, people's houses, or even for lost objects, as people do for dowsing. Another very cool way of using the pendulum is to hold it above a map, a geographical map, and you can ask questions as, where could I go on holiday, or where such and such person is. And again, the pendulum will point out to you the area on the map where you will have to focus in your search. Another way of using the pendulum would be with tarot card readings. So there's different ways of doing that, and you can simply lay all the cards. Before doing a reading, you can lay all the cards on a table, and instead of shuffling and drawing cards, you can let the pendulum, after asking a question, choose the cards for you. And this is an alternative way of selecting cards for a tarot reading. Also, another very cool way, I think they're all very cool ways, and it's nice to explore instead of asking just yes or no questions, is using pendulum charts. I've got one for you just to show you what I mean. This is one of the charts I use. It's a simple chart that I printed from the internet, and it's got letters and numbers, and you will just hold your pendulum on the center of it, and the pendulum would actually spell out the words that would answer your questions. The pendulum will spell out letter by letter. So what you do, after each letter, you will stop the motion of the pendulum and then let it start again by itself, because it will start again until it stops spelling the word. Now there is the connection with the Ouija board. This is my Ouija board. I will show it to you. Very nice and big. I would like to practically show you how to use it, but you can't see it, so I'm not going to do that. But you can use the Ouija board also as a pendulum chart, and the pendulum will move in the same way, pointing you towards each letter that spells the words. And these are the cool ways to use the pendulum. Now going on the Ouija board, this is there's a lot of fear, prejudice, and misconception about Ouija boards. There are many ways of using the Ouija board as well, because, like I said, you can use it with the pendulum for dowsing, and you can use it to contact spirits, but you can also use it to talk to your higher self. A very important thing to remind you is that The magic is in you. These are just tools. And so it's your intention that counts. Whatever your intention says, that's what you're going to do. And that's where you're going to gain information from. So if you wish to use a Ouija board to talk to spirits, for a start, I would tell you that if you are fearful to do that, I don't suggest you do that, because we go back to the intention. If you are vibrating a low frequency because of fear, it's best to not use a Ouija board. But if you are okay with that, and you know that you are communicating from light and you are accepting messages from light and for your highest good, it's okay to use a Ouija board. I would do some preparation before using it, like relaxing and maybe cleansing your space, maybe lighting some candles and preparing your table, laying some crystals around the Ouija board. If you have some friends that can do it for you, that's okay. But if you can't, you are on your own, then I would use the methods that I was talking to you earlier, of using the pendulum to communicate using the Ouija board, because it's much easier than moving a planchette by yourself. Before using the Ouija board, if you are using it to talk to spirits, I would suggest that you do a prayer of intention to state that you want to communicate with beings coming from the light and for your highest good. If anything during the session with the Ouija board scares you, you are advised to always terminate the session. But if you are confident of going forward, just keep asking questions, and you terminate the session once you have asked all the question, moving the planchette or the pendulum over the goodbye. Once you have finished using your Ouija board, it's always best to store everything away safely and not let other people or children touch it, and cleansing the space again with intention, visualizing energy coming from the universe to cleanse the space, and smudging sage if you have, if you are so inclined. And
left, Annalisa.
okay. And this is my experience with the pendulum and Ouija board, and I hope I had some nice tips for you that you can use. And that's it.
Annalisa, thank you so much. There was so much love going on for you in the chat. Loads of people saying they love your witch board. And I think quite a unique way of using the pendulum as well. People go, oh, pendulum and crystals, pendulum and tarot cards, to kind of use that to choose a card. That's really powerful.
Yes, there's so many ways that you can use it, and the ways that you always see online for a yes or no, and that's very limiting.
It's great. And I love the fact that in listening to all of your talks, which have all been amazing, by the way, your law of attraction and you like crystals and everything that you talk about really feels as if you're living that. You're like even saying like using the pendulum to find where your car is parked. I think that's brilliant. It just feels as if you're not like a witch for 1 hour of the day and then you go back to being a mom, a daughter, a friend, but you're actually living that life. And you're embracing it all with your crystals and your pendulum and the law of attraction as well, which I think is amazing.
Definitely, yes. Living the magical life, like Cassidy said.
You are living a magical life. So tell us about your